show, number one platform of all time in the interweb. Myself, Ross PXF, Moss Shinobi, AK Gaz. Shout out to everybody rocking with us. Fire Pixie and Slipknot. She didn't believe we had technical difficulties, but this is Planet X Filmworks. I would think that's pretty believable by now. The number one professionalism on YouTube.
We'll roast them, man. We won't break tradition. We'll get through a show where we turn our welcoming warmness to Pixie.
Yeah, absolutely. She'll be happy because we got Clint Eastwood coming up next week, and then after that, I'm just going to bombard her with never-ending Costner until we get through his entire 500 film resume. Anyway, so we're about to post the schedule. As we said, A Fistful of Dollars next week, which is a spaghetti western. We'll talk about it in the review. Remake of Yojimbo. And those actually go all the way up to the 90s, guys. Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis as another remake of the same concept. Yeah. Obviously, Yojimbo and A Fistful of Dollars. So we have some things. Hell did I put my schedule? So we had either Red Sun or Death Rides a Pale Horse after Fistful of Dollars, Sanjuro on the 8th, and then Red Sun or Death Rides a Pale Horse. But if you wanted, Gaz, we could alternate that to American Primeval if the audience wants us to weigh in on. So the best thing to do, guys, is leave your predictions below in the comments, or we see them here on the live chat. And we do have some of your stuff coming up, Slippy. So we're going to get that in the mix down the line as well. Also have Falling Down for next month. Gaz had Invasion USA. I was thinking Revenant for March, and then we're going to do Boondock Saints for St. Paddy's Day. So just giving you guys a little idea of what's coming up down the pipeline. I don't know if you can see my hoodie in the background. Knucklemania 5 tonight, Fire Pixie. I don't know if you just watched UFC or PFL was on earlier, but Knucklemania 5 in Philly. Jeremy Stevens versus Eddie Alvarez. That should be insane. So depending on how that goes, maybe me and Gaz will do something for that. But more importantly, we have been talking about him for, I feel like, a couple years. Akira Kurosawa. This is the Yojimbo Sanjuro 2-pack, the Criterion Collection Blu-rays. As Gaz saw, I had this sealed on my TV stand for a couple years until I finally opened it yesterday and watched Yojimbo, which was a big step for me. Honestly, guys, I know we both watched all the Kurosawas in film class. I literally didn't remember anything from this movie. So I don't know if I just didn't see this one back when I watched all the Kurosawas, or maybe I just saw it, just totally forgot the film, which is pretty rare for me.
I was the same, which was weird. And then things kind of, when you kind of taught all the theory of it and the score, and you're taking in, that's awesome. And then you kind of forget all that knowledge you were taught. And now we're kind of away from class. I feel what was kind of put to us then now comes back, and now I'm noticing things. So It wasn't all nonsense after all that there were lectures about.
No. I mean, hey, if you want to talk about the one class me and Gaz paid attention in, it was film, because it was, you're going to show me Akira Kurosawa and Sergio Leone? Well, okay, now I'm paying attention because I'm watching westerns of guys getting sliced into splinters and blown away in smithereens in the cowboy films. And we're definitely going to hit up Dan's movie cave as well, Slip, because now that we're doing westerns and stuff, I'm going to watch some of their videos and see what those guys are coming off to. So what is in the Yojimbo Blu-ray? It comes with this little manual that gives you some whole bunch of it's actually really sick. If anybody, does watch Blu-rays or collects hard copies, I recommend this. It's got the whole cast and the credits. It's got some stuff about Akira in there. He apparently smokes butts, which I didn't know, Gaz, but that's pretty common of his era. 50s, 60s filmmaking. Obviously, in-depth discussion of Toshiro Mifune. We'll be talking his performance, and it just has a lot in here. I would like to read what Kurosawa says about Yojimbo here. It's pretty brief, so don't worry, guys. I'm not going to read you like a 30-page essay or anything, but I think this gives do you have me and Gaz, two white guys from Western countries, telling you about Japanese culture? Or do you want to hear it directly from Kurosawa himself? I feel like that's a more direct approach than me and Gaz. Hey, we're both born 100 years after this guy. We're going to tell you about movies from the 50s. But listen to what he actually says about it. So because this gives a lot of insight to the film. And then let us know. Feel free to weigh in on if you've seen Yojimbo or what your opinion is on maybe other Kurosawa films, because I actually haven't seen them all. Throne of Blood's one of my favorites, Seven Samurai. But if this is something that the audience likes and you guys want to, were you not there where I just said this 3 or 4 times, Pixie? I literally just said we're doing Clint Eastwood next week with Fistful of Dollars. Josie Wales, we don't have it on. We don't have it on the schedule. We write it down. We get some more stuff for you in there, Pixie. But want to get some of Slippy's stuff in there, Pixie. Don't be greedy. We already did 2 years. All right. For a long time ago, I'd wanted to make a really interesting film. It finally turned into this picture. The story is so ideally interesting that it's surprising no one else ever thought of it. The idea is about a rivalry on both sides, and both sides are equally bad. We all know what that is like. Here we are, weakly caught in the middle, and it's impossible to choose between 2 evils. Myself, I've always wanted to somehow or other stop these senseless battles of bad against bad, but we're all more or less weak. I've never been able to. And that is why the hero of this picture is different from us. He is able to stand squarely in the middle and stop the fight. And it is him that I thought of first. That was the beginning of the film in my mind. I think that offers a lot of insight to the creation of Yojimbo. Right, Gaz? It sounds like he thought of Toshiro Mifune's character Sanjuro first and built the film and wrote the story around that, which I just thought that was an interesting origin of given Yojimbo becomes the stuff of legend because it gets remade in the 60s, it gets remade in the 90s. You know what I mean? It's like, you do, Gaz and I talk a lot about this, about, for example, like The Thing is The Thing from Another World, the old 50s film. And it's common, but I feel like Yojimbo, it's like a next level, because I wouldn't be surprised if this kept going. Like if another version pops up soon, obviously Bruce Willis and Last Man Standing is probably the last one. I mean, maybe there are smaller budget ones that I just don't know about, but I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about, like a big budget type of thing.
This could go on. You could do kind of a Blade Runner cyberpunk version of it. You could do something on
that would be sick.
Planet with it.
Like a John Carpenter sci-fi thing on a rogue planet. Yeah, that'd be tight.
Oh, heck yeah. Def, man. And the thing is as well, fam, is back in the day, this Akira's doing something where, like you said, there's no good guy. It's two villainous gangs facing
bad
off.
Versus bad.
When usually it was always traditionally, good versus bad. Mm-hmm. So that is really ahead of its time, apart from many other things. And maybe, I could be way off here, but maybe as well, considering this is like 50s, 60s filmmaking, as you said, Ross, so we're not long after World War II. Could that have been an influence as well with the Japanese, obviously allying with the Nazis during World War II? So it was
Third
like,
Reich in Germany.
You living in Japan, you were caught between that, those two.
Sure.
So that could have possibly an influence. Shout out to Darkside, thanks for coming through as well. Sure. But yeah, definitely, man.
Absolutely. While I do my phone, I'll go ahead and I'll pull up the synopsis. There's a couple different synopsises. I think the one on the back was like the coolest one. The incomparable Toshiro Mifune stars in Akira Kurosawa's visually stunning and darkly comic Yojimbo. To rid a terror-stricken village of corruption, Willie Masterless Samurai Sanjuro turns a range war between 2 evil clans to his own advantage. Remade twice by Sergio Leone and Walter Hill, this exhilarating genre twister remains one of the most influential and entertaining films of all time. So they literally it's a bit like Apocalypse Now, like Gaz and I were saying, where you have these films that just kind of copy that blueprint. It's a bit of a subgenre. It's a bit of its own genre. I mean, you have samurai, you have westerns, as Gaz said, clan versus clan kind of action. But this, it kind of becomes its own thing. It's like a genre within a genre, a bit of a subgenre in the action genre, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm going to say now, right off the bat, it also serves to influence some other notable TV series, such as Kung Fu, which the idea was believed to have been penned originally by Bruce Lee, according to his widow, Linda Lee. And at that time, the first incarnation of that series, David Carradine starred in the role because that would be more favorable to Western audiences back then. There is a reboot. Apparently, it's meant to be awful. Never watched it. And also, Ross, I mean,
a Japanese reboot?
No, Western reboot. It's meant to be pretty terrible. But if you look at Warrior, which sadly got cancelled, which we reviewed
I was going to bring that up.
There's another example and he's Eastern kind of Western as well. So you're definitely right. This is becomes a genre within itself that's had an impact on so many other subgenres from it as well.
Absolutely. And I was, Gaz brought up Warrior before I did, of course, opposing clans in Warrior, and again, it's not, as Akira said, it's a simple concept, right? And I think that's what he likes to make his stuff around. There's a 45-minute documentary in here called Akira Kurosawa, It Is Wonderful to Create. And we're going to talk about the film, obviously, guys, but when I talk about production, I'm going to talk about that because I have like maybe less than 10 minutes left of it on in the background here. And I learned so much about the filmmaking of this movie, guys. First of all, it was the first movie to use sound effects for the sword slashes. And also what I learned is, like, although Kurosawa is a genius, like his crew, like much like a Mad Max movie where George Miller has like 100 guys working on set doing, their different jobs. Every single person in Kurosawa's crew was literally an expert in their craft. These guys literally homemade made the telephoto lenses for the cameras. Like, you don't really think of like Yojimbo as state-of-the-art breakthrough technology, like Gaz said, because it comes outdated within filmmaking. But what they did at the time was literally never before done. And you're thinking like a black and white samurai movie. What's so crazy about it, right? It doesn't have giant explosions in the background or pyrotechnics or even, I think Gaz was, insinuating this earlier. No CGI, guys. You got to put your mind to a place where you can't just fix any little mistake you make in post and re-edit things with the even just the restoration of the 4K copy. So it's a Blu-ray. Okay, it's not a 4K Ultra Disc. This isn't actually a Blu-ray, but I did share the 4K trailer below in the description. Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Slipknot? Is Yojimbo up there for you, or do you prefer other Kurosawa? So anyway, it was just kind of funny to me that he comes onto the documentary and he's like, yeah, I like a good film is a very simple concept that anyone can understand. And then I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, Rashomon was not really a simple concept. It was actually pretty advanced. Now maybe that's simple to Kurosawa, who's an expert level filmmaker, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just kind of funny how, like, okay, sure, as Gaz said, bad versus bad, and one guy in the middle that turns everybody against each other. But then the way they actually write the story, his manipulation, it actually I think like this Sanjuro character is probably one of the most intelligent samurai that Mifune plays, because he has like a very like nonchalant aspect to him, but the way he manipulates everybody is very intelligent. It's like, Godfather level manipulation, or even neo crime such as Gomorrah, how the gangsters in that manipulate each other. Like, he's still able to come in this town not knowing anything and use everybody's weaknesses against each other, which is like the way of the samurai, right?
And I like how he shows his mind working through his mannerisms and his acting when he's in the inn, I guess, for want of a better word, the innkeeper. When he's talking to the innkeeper in one of the first early scenes, and you see him already thinking, I wonder if I can use this advantage in the town to my situation. There's a later scene which we'll get to with one of the first kind of face-offs between the gangs, where he's stood on this kind of tower, I guess, watching it happen, and he's laughing because he's there. He's like, man, it's almost like he's rubbing his hands, like, this is just going to play into my hands so well.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a bit like is it that Boba Fett episode where he shows up and Tim Oliphant was the sheriff, and he kind of just like shows up as like a rogue, Ronin is the word in feudal Japan, and he kind of just frees the town for no reason. Like, it's almost because he doesn't have to do this. He can keep going up to the next town, right? He doesn't have to involve himself in this thing. Yet he sees like how the people are treated. And the other thing I like about him is he's probably the most unlikable hero that you've ever seen in the sense of like what we said about Dirty Harry and like Eastwood, obviously playing those Sanjuro influenced characters, where he's not a super nice guy. Like, the dialogue in this film's absolutely hilarious. Like, he's just a dick to everybody. He's always talking crap. Like, even just like, I mean, he's cool with the innkeeper because he kind of took him in and helped him right away. But as for like everybody else in the town, like, we'll get to it later on when he frees the guy's wife. what he says.
Oh yes, yeah. Like, but there also is, as we'll get to, not to reveal it now, they, like Ross was mentioning, this is back in the days, and they didn't have CGI, so they have to do everything practically. There's a beautiful scene in it's used to demonstrate just how joyous it would be living in that town at the time. It's just something simple, only quick, but it just says so much, and I thought that was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, early on, he's introduced to the innkeeper who takes him in. He kind of gives him the skinny on it's this gang versus that gang. The casket maker is next door. He's kind of prominent because that's again, there's, I think what Kurosawa did was he took like the Western concepts. This is a bit of like a Kurosawa Western. So even though Kurosawa influences the Western genre and the spaghetti Westerns, he also takes some of that back from them. And then he kind of makes this like amalgamation of both genres, a hybrid. So the casket maker is the only guy in town making money because the gangs keep killing each other. They basically run out all the business, so nobody else can really have a profitable business. The gangs are obviously just going to squeeze you, and that's just, extort you. That's just kind of how that goes. So,
which, picking up on that point, you've seen A Fistful of Dollars with the guy making the coffins in that movie and saying that would be the best career to have had in that town.
Yeah, that's directly out of Yojimbo. You know what I mean? And A Fistful of Dollars, of course, epic as well. As Gaz said, with the ticks and the twitches of Toshiro Mifune's performance, Eastwood takes that on. So Sanjuro choose a toothpick. Eastwood's character, the man with no name, he smokes a cigar, guys, right? So they both have like he kind of switches it, flick it around, and then the shoulder twitch is a Mifune thing. So he just has these like mannerisms that I've never seen from any other actor, at least in the modern era. I grew up in the 80s, 90s, and then Eastwood is able to take those on and carry it on, which is just so interesting. So the IMDb synopsis. A crafty Ronin comes to town divided by two criminal gangs and decides to play them against each other to free the town. So you can kind of see what's going on there. The other thing I like about what up, peace to Crip Rick, that's my dude. The other thing I like about it, guys, is Sanjuro just like drinks sake like all the time. So he's like, it's like get the sake, and the innkeeper's like, hey, what are you gonna do about this? He's like, you're not actually thinking about involving yourself in this mess, like Gaz was saying, and he's like, here, pour me some more sake. I'll think while I drink. He's like, I'll think while I drink. And I'm thinking to myself, Sanjuro, I don't know if I do my best thinking while I'm drinking, but, he's a samurai. Maybe he has some sake and he locks in, you know what I mean? So he's just he's a different guy. He's a different guy. Yeah.
I mean, you could argue in a musical point where, it's all those people who've said they've been kind of out there on another planet high and something and wrote the best albums. So maybe it's a super early.
I agree, but it's just like a samurai. It's hand-to-hand combat. Generally, drinking slows down your motor skills.
Kind of go, does it?
If he's really able to drink sake and then lock in for samurai combat, it's the most impressive character that's ever been created. So he comes to town. He essentially sets up shop, and he basically goes to like the first gang, kind of offers his services. He kind of gives them their price. I think the way he negotiates with them, it's like he pretends to like walk away and he runs it up to like an astronomical number. Early on, it's established that Sanjuro is the most skilled samurai in town. So those other gangs are kind of lower level brigands. I mean, they have swords and stuff, but none of them are really like an expert level swordsman the way Sanjuro is. So they posture up on him. One guy tries to test him. He slices that guy's arm off, guys. Fairly early.
That was awesome.
So that kind of sets up that like nobody else is really willing to kill him after that point, not one-on-one anyway.
And coming in on the you might be able to find it on Prime, Rick. I haven't seen it on Netflix yet.
I can tell you exactly what it's on, but you can carry on, guys.
What I want to come on and a very early point here is that first opening scene, man, considering that when this was done, and this continues throughout the film. So when we reviewed the other Akira movie a few weeks ago, we say it was one of the very early ones. So the combat scenes then were, not that it was a bad film, because it wasn't. We both rated the movie highly. The combat scenes weren't great. The samurai was probably the world's most useless samurai in that one.
Intentionally written, so there's no expert swordsman in Rashomon. So.
But in this one, I feel the combat scenes are really ahead of the time. They're really brutal. They're really quick. They're realistic. It's seconds, which is how it would be. And I think even compared to some of the sequences now, I feel a little more realistic. It's just slice and dice and it's done. So it's really good considering the time.
Yeah, as Gaz said, it's grounded in realism, very authentic.
Yeah.
Both Kurosawa and Mifune take it the most seriously. I learned so much about Mifune in this booklet and the documentary, guys. So he never intended to be an actor. He always came to set full costume, full makeup, and he always waited for every other actor to come to set. So he wouldn't just walk on like a superstar, like, "Hey, I'm here, let's get going."
It's really humble.
Even if people were late, he would wait till every actor got there. Awesome. Notorious for not bringing his script to set. Notorious for coming to set with 100% lines memorized. So that's unheard of today, guys. Not only are we talking about an older filmmaking process, but we're talking about two filmmaking experts. Kurosawa having 100%, confidence in Mifune and his performance. Pixie with the trailer there. To answer you, Rick. It is on HBO Max. It's on Prime Video to rent. It looks like Amazon to rent. So might be other places as well. So I was going to pull it up just so we can go point by point. So once the combat sequences, Sanjuro kills 10 samurais in 10 seconds, as Gaz was saying. So, they intentionally kept that there. His hand speed and even like his running and sprinting, they talk about all that in Dead Angel and Seven Samurai is kind of next level, and that's how Kurosawa wanted it, as Gaz said. They're obviously not hitting each other with the swords. I don't expect them to. I'm assuming it's dull blades. That's the only way you can film this type of thing. There's not really that much blood for the slashes, but when the limbs come off, there is. So when that guy's arm popped off earlier, they had to totally douse it in a mass basin of fake blood because obviously a black and white film, they wanted to distinguish the arm from the ground. And there's one other absolutely key scene I forgot to mention, but I'll send it to you guys. I'll come back in on it.
And there is a scene towards the end where you do see actually a bit of the blood splatter that became notorious with later samurai movies. And also the scene I forgot to come to, which is, I think it's just before this, where you see the dog carrying someone's hand. Is that just before?
So this scene is the first establishing shot in the movie. This was in the mini documentary. I learned. I thought it was an amazing scene. You guys always hear me rant and rave about the dog scenes and Gladiator, whatever. Like I used to be a dog trainer. I'm a massive dog fanboy. So obviously this scene jumps out to me. It wasn't written in the script, guys. Kurosawa thought of it when they got to set because he wanted, and you saw Mifune's reaction to seeing the hand. You know what I mean? It was like, as Gaz said, it was a very facial, expression that Sanjuro gives when he sees the dog carrying this hand. I think that's even before he meets the innkeeper. It might have been when he came out. There's just so much about this. So Kurosawa wanted something to establish my throat is jacked today. Sorry, guys. Kurosawa. How dare you ask this question, Rick? I'm going to send you over to Mosh Shinobi. Make sure you subscribe to that. We're dual streaming on there right now live. That's where generally we do all the Samurai Ninja stuff. But Gaz is doing his American Ninja retrospective. I don't know if you're doing best of the best after that, Gaz. To answer this really quickly, Rick, myself and Ross have talked about doing best of the best, the kickboxer movies, possibly Scott Adkins ninja movies, Ninja Assassin, and when I've finished doing American Ninja 4 and 5, this is as much as I can say. Me and Ross had an idea of reaching out to someone connected with those movies, I'll say, to see if we could maybe get them for an interview. As we've said in the show, there's so many areas we are working on behind the scenes with cryptids. Lauren wants us to do a podcast with him. Obviously, Ross with the True Crime here over at Planet PXF. Yes, I just did forget the name of our other channel there. So professional as always. And we've even still possibly will dip into maybe the kind of ancient alternative history stuff as well. So yeah, there's
be honest, we're overloaded. We really are. But
I proposed to Gaz when we finish those to do the Kickboxer franchise, because Kickboxer Armageddon is coming out. It has Jean-Claude Van Damme reprising,
nice.
and it's going to have Scott Adkins. So it'd be nice to get Van Damme and Atkins back together. So that one's. I don't think there's a trailer yet. Of course, there's Striking Justice, Gaz, and I haven't heard of a trailer for that. But yeah, we do in-depth MMA movies, Rick, mixed. We'll say martial arts, for lack of a better term.
There's one I'm going to recommend very quickly, and then we'll get back on topic. I do have the review kind of 90% ready. It just needs one extra bit recording before I put it up on the channel. If you check out the Australian martial arts movie Life After Fighting, especially the fight in the dojo at the end of the movie, it is absolutely sick, man. It's pretty good. It's well worth a watch.
Yeah, when we get a Striking Justice trailer, I imagine we'll be covering that in some respect for Tony Jaa. So the dog scene. So Akira tells his cast that like he wants to establish that it's a bizarre town, and so they come up with that. The taller dude, what was he wearing? Might have been the dude with the tattoo on his forehead. It turns out that dude is like a legendary craftsman in terms of props, and I believe. Nah, I won't say that because I don't know if it's confirmed. But go ahead.
So did he make the massive mallet then? He was carrying.
He made the hand. He made the hand that the dog was eating. So he created 2 hands that cost 70,000 yen at the time, and the dude that worked for Kurosawa, maybe like a production assistant or something. That so the way he found that dog is he was going to town getting groceries or getting vegetables for the inn, and he ran into a lady who had her dog, and the dog was carrying like a bundle of like whatever she bought at the outdoor market. And so you see them all the time. So he followed them back to their house, which like was a mansion on the outskirts of town, and knocked on the door and said like, "Hey, we're looking for a scene in this movie for a dog to carry something." And it was like the daughter of the family, and she was kind of like, "What the hell are these guys talking about? Like a samurai movie?" Like she wasn't really a fan of what they were talking about, but he eventually convinced her to do it. And then that dude was sick with like 103 fever. He couldn't go to set. And then Akira was like, "Hey, I want to shoot the dog scene today." So they sent a car to go get that dude. Oh, and by the way, the backstory is, so every time he went to the market, he went back to that house and played with the dog to make it comfortable with him. So the dog started to like learn who this guy was and, like develop a relationship. So then they brought that sick guy to set. They did the dog scene, and then they sent that dude home. But yeah, they had like the two, they had the word. They had like the two prop hands. So he went to, and it's like even just a little thing like this, it shows you how Kurosawa's mind works. So he was on another set and he saw like a background guy, like a background hand, drop a pair of gloves, and it spooked him because he thought they were hands or a hand. And so that's how he came up with the idea of having the dog carry the hand. Then they found the dog in town that was carrying this bundle. Like it all just like worked, you know what I mean? Which is like, how do that many things line up on a random scene like that? So that scene actually establishes a lot more. Like I thought it was cool because of seeing Sanjuro's reaction. Like, okay, there's just bodies lying around town. I walk in and a dog's running out with some guy's hand. there's just like a massive backstory to how they produced it.
Even the way it's shot as well, and the way the dog appears carrying a hand is just such a beautiful piece of filmmaking as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, good looks. Crypt is locked in with Mosh Shinobi, which is cool.
Thank you, Rick.
Mosh Shinobi, subscribe to Gaz. And like we said, all the in-depth ninja, samurai, martial arts influence type things will be over there. Most of them will if it works for both of us, we'll dual stream them, guys. So we'll be here on PXF and then over on Gaz's thing. So yeah, like I don't know, it's crazy. I'm just watching this doc, and then they just go like super in-depth, deep on that scene, and then so many iconic moments, from the dog, the hand in the dog's mouth, to, as Gaz said, Sanjuro on the tower between the two gangs. Like we'll get into it, but basically, as he goes through this movie, he's like, "Hey, this guy disrespected me. This guy offended me. I'm over with you guys now." And he just goes back and forth, and because he's so good, no one's willing to duel him, so he's just able to extort them both. They're obviously extorting the townspeople. He rolls up and extorts both of them out of all their money, and then he's just like, "Yeah, I'm not like I'm on recess right now." He climbs up the tower, just sits there and watches them have to fight themselves because they have no other choice,
And that first face off as well, because the first face-off, they're all hesitant. It's like battle of the gangs that don't really want to fight each other, so like kind of going back and forth, and nothing happens. I mean, that obviously doesn't happen later, but that was hilarious in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a hilarious posturing. So it takes place in 1860, final years of the Edo period. A Ronin wanders through a desolate countryside. Coming to a fork of the road, he chooses a path to take at random. Stopping at a farmhouse for water, he overhears the elderly couple talking about their son has run off to join the gamblers in a nearby town, which is overrun with criminals, contested by 2 rival Yakuza gangs. So some ancient Yakuza here, guys. The Ronin stops at a small izakaya, which is a tavern. The owner, Ganji, advises him to leave. Ganji tells the Ronin they're 2 warring bosses. It's Yoshitora and Saibei are the 2 leaders. Yoshitora had been Saibei's right-hand man until Saibei decided that his successor would be his son, Yoichiro, a useless youth. The town's mayor, silk merchant. One thing we haven't explained yet is, like, I would consider this movie practically in the grindhouse genre because, of course, you have these grimy, violent samurai fights. As Gaz said, they're very quick and realistic. But the dialogue really doesn't match the tone of the combat. Like, it's been described as a dark comedy. You know, if you look at the genres, of course, they have the one-person army. For instance, when that kid, that youth who is like the useless kid that's going to be the successor, guys, he's talking to his parents. And he's like, they're like, you never even killed someone before, you clown. What? He's like, I killed a guy. And his dad's like, yeah, only one. Like, they're just talking about dead people like it's like nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and Sanjiro's listening at the time as well above his mind working. It's almost as like, all right, okay, so you're going to try and rip me off, are you?
Yeah, so there's just like a lot of, we'll get into some of Sanjiro's dialogue later that's absolutely hilarious too. The town's mayor, a silk merchant named Teizamon, had long been in Saibei's pocket, so Ishitura aligned himself with the Loki Sako brewer, Tukamon, proclaiming him the new mayor. After sizing up the situation and recognizing that no one in town cares about ending the violence, the stranger says he intends to stay, as the town would be better off with both sides dead. Like, you can just see right there that that's the concept of this movie, and it's very interesting. He convinces the weaker Saibei to hire his services by effortlessly killing 3 of Yoshitora's men. When asked his name, he sees a mulberry field and states that his name is Kuwabataki Mulberry Field. See, I didn't pick that up that was a mulberry field, guys. I don't know if you got that. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So he basically just looks around and sees the first thing and tells them that's.
Oh yes, that's when he says, "Yeah, now I remember." Yeah.
That's absolutely badass.
Nice.
Yeah. There's Pixie with the scene there, but don't blow it for yourselves. Make sure you guys watch the film in full, in true PXF style. Saibei decides that with the Roman's help, it's time to deal with Ushitora. Sanjuro eavesdrops on Saibei's wife, who orders Yoichiro to prove himself by killing the Ronin. And like, isn't that kid like the worst fighter in the town? Like, what makes him think that guy's gonna kill Sanjuro? It's like not gonna happen. Saving them from having to pay him, Sanjuro leads the attack on Yoshitora's faction, but then resigns over Saibei's treachery. Like, that's when he's like, Saibei has offended me. Expecting both sides to massacre each other. His plan is foiled due to the unexpected arrival of Bugoyo, a government official, which prompts both Saibei and Yoshitora to make a bloodless retreat. The Bugoyo leaves soon after to investigate the assassination of a fellow official in another town. I remember when they were talking about that. Said like a magistrate was killed in a nearby town. Overhearing the assassins discussing the hit in Ganji's tavern, Sanjuro later captures them and sells them to Saibei. He then comes to Ushitora and tells him Saibei's men caught the assassins. Alarmed, Ushitora generously rewards Sanjuro for his help and kidnaps Yoichiro in exchange for the 2 assassins. At the swap, Yoshitora's brother, Unusaki, kills the assassin's wife with a pistol. I wanted to bring up this pistol, guys, because I've never seen it in any other Kurosawa. Is this the only one with a pistol, which I feel is like a Western reference?
Yeah, as far as I know, it is. I haven't come across it before. If anyone knows that it has appeared, then definitely give us a heads up. But yeah, I'm the same as you, and I took that as a nod to westerns.
I was a bit struck by that because Kurosawa and Mifune are so traditional, katana traditionalists, you know what I mean? But I liked it, it mixed it up, it gave it a different element. So.
They did drop that line when that guy appears that he'd just come back, I think, from a town or something. So I took it as, okay, maybe he's got that from someone, one of the kind of Ronins or samurais that have got access to Western weapons. Some that did all being needing in a trading port,
Sure.
where they brought in some arms. That's I just took it as that.
Yeah,
I did find the only thing I picked up on. I mean, the actor does mention towards the end, all right, I'm nearly out of ammunition, but it did seem pretty limitless. I never really fired it too much, but I was carefully watching.
Shot. I didn't see Bro reload. I don't think once in the entire film, and that well, definitely that ending is of course awesome. It's kind of one of those endings where it's like long and drawn out, but then it just ends on this very brief, abrupt moment. You know what I mean? Which is kind of cool. So we will definitely cover that when we get to it. Anticipating this, Saibei reveals that he had ordered the kidnapping of Tokumon's mistress. The next morning, she's exchanged for Yoichiro. Sanjuro learns that the mistress, Nui, is a local farmer's wife after he sold her to Ushitora to settle the gambling debt. Ushitora gave her to Tokumon as a chattel to gain his support. After tricking Ushitora into revealing where Nui is held, Sanjuro kills the guards and reunites the woman with his husband and son, ordering them to leave town immediately. He comes to Ushitora and informs him that Saibei is responsible for killing his man. Like we'll break down that scene because the dude that he goes there with is like that dumb guy that everybody keeps clowning. And I just love how he just listens to whatever Sanjuro said. He's like, Sanjuro's like, here, go. Look, we're under attack. Go tell him. And that guy just runs away. Sanjuro pulls out his counter blade, runs in the house, ices every single guy in like 20 seconds. And then we can discuss how he makes it look like it was a bigger fight than it actually was. Like it was another samurai, detachment, basically, like another kind of clan. But obviously, I'm sure you enjoyed that one, guys. That was probably one of the funniest gags in the movie.
I thought that was hilarious in the after scene, which we'll get into the dialogue as well.
I'm coming to that for sure. But just how he destroyed the place, because like obviously Sanjuro is so fast that it was like a blink of your eye speed fight, as Gaz was saying earlier. He completely decimates the guys, and then he realizes like, well, if it's just the 6 guys dead with like nothing broken, it obviously looks like it was me. So he goes back in and he like smashes all the windows, the doors, kicks everything down. He punches holes in the ceiling and the rice is coming down. Another thing we need to mention are the natural elements and the weather. We were talking about this in Rashomon and, in Kurosawa films, the weather and Gaz mentioned the score. I really haven't yet, but the music and the weather are essentially characters in Kurosawa films because they set the tone for every single scene. So the wind and the dust is very prominent. You have several of these kind of showdown face-off scenes, a la the Western genre. Granted they have their katanas, so it's a bit like a samurai showdown as opposed to a cowboy showdown. But same type of thing. Posturing up, and the center of town has the very wide main road. They obviously did that intentionally to be able to fit both clans there. With Sanjuro in between them. But the wind and the dust, guys, they pulled all this dust from a nearby shooting range, a machine gun shooting range for the Japanese military. They had some dust they were using at first, and I think they ran out or just didn't have enough, because it's Kurosawa, right? So he's like more, just so you can see the wind. Even the rain scene's awesome. And like I said before on Rashomon, guys, I don't think that they were able to fabricate the rain at this point, so they must have had to literally shoot those, around the weather schedule. They took 2 giant, I think it was like plane propeller engines that they made these fans on to blast the dust in there, and it was so loud it pretty much like drowned out the whole set. And the actors were, and then they used maybe flour or some other mixture of flour and dust to create the dust. And the actors were saying like Kurosawa wanted me to keep my eyes open the whole time. So he's like, I usually have my eyes open when I'm acting. He's like, but obviously with that amount of elements around you. And Kurosawa's like, don't close your eyes. He's like, just let it get in your eye. He's like, okay, so now you got to go and act in this scene where they're blowing massive amounts of dust in your face, and the director's telling you, hey, you better keep your eyes open for my shots. Like, not an easy thing to do, guys,
Definitely not.
So I just wanted to mention those weather elements. I thought that was sick. And as I said earlier, the first film to use sound effects, which I found super interesting. As Gaz was saying, so as he frees these people, he's like, get out of here now. He's like, he doesn't want them to get caught. They had the husband, wife, and son. He's like, you guys got to get out of here. And they get down and they start like bowing to him. And he's like, that's when he totally rips them. He's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I hate weaklings. He's like, get out of here or I'll kill you.
Yeah. But what's hilarious is he, what is that? Yeah. Is that, have I got ahead of myself? Is this where he rescues that guy's wife as well?
Yeah.
When he first finds her, he says, right, get out of here. She doesn't move. And he says to her, you idiot.
Yeah, he calls her idiot. And then he called them idiots when they were bowing too. He's like, what are you doing?
When they were bowing, gives them money and says, right, get out there. And like it's so hilarious. It's so hilarious the way it's done. It's like you can clearly know the whole gang of Yakuza then are about to arrive, and they're like,
and he's gonna be yelling at them. He's like, idiots, what are you doing? He's like, I told you get out of here. He's like, he said, I hate weaklings. If you don't leave now, I'll kill you. And so like, it's like the most interesting character ever because he does the right things to like help people, but he doesn't exactly treat them nicely while he's doing it. Like,
it's like Samurai. As you said, Samurai Dirty Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, hell yeah. He just goes around calling people idiots, and like he has so much funny dialogue. It's like, dude, this guy is the man.
Even towards the end, there's a scene I definitely want to pick up on as well, which has some hilarious dialogue. But I'll wait till we get there.
Yeah, dude is like pretty much just drinking sake, fighting drunk, and calling people idiots the whole movie. It's just like the most entertaining character you've ever seen in your life. So that was the wife, and then the gang war escalates with Yoshitora burning down Taizamon's silk warehouse and Saibei retaliating by trashing Tukumon's brewery. After some time, Urusuki becomes suspicious of Sanjuro and the circumstances surrounding Nui's escape, eventually uncovering evidence of the Ronin's betrayal. Sanjuro is severely beaten and imprisoned by Ushitora's thugs who torture him to find out Nui's whereabouts. When Ushitora decides to eliminate Saibei once and for all, Sanjuro escapes. Smuggled out of town in a coffin by Ganji, Shinjuro witnesses the brutal end of Saibei and his family. Shinjuro recuperates in a small temple near a cemetery. So there's quite a bit to unpack there. His boy Gonji, when he has the other guy help him carry the body, they do like a little gag there. Obviously, Shinjuro is hiding in the coffin. I think there was something else there that caught my attention. So that massive tall guy that beat the brakes off of him, that guy was sick, dude. That guy was a beast.
Interesting you mentioned that, because as we said, this has been remade now in Bruce Willis's Last Man Standing, the part where Bruce has his guns taken away and he's beaten severely by a big, larger kind of guy. That was kind of like, I guess, the modern remake of that entire scene. Even the dialogue, because there's something that guy says in Last Man Standing, where one of the other kind of bad underlings says, right, is the guy more or less insinuating, is this guy going to still be dangerous? And the big stronger guy says, no, he's nothing without his guns. Well, you have that line from that big taller dude in this where he says, no, without his sword he's nothing. So I noticed that straight away.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you guys want, we'll do Last Man Standing down the line if that's something you guys are feeling. I've seen it quite a few times back in the day. I probably haven't watched it in 15 years. So when Mifune does the crawl underneath his escape, this is also in the mini doc, very interesting stuff. So the dude who did the wires to get the cameras down there, he said if it was only like one type of camera, he only would have had to done one wire. But because the type they're using, it had 3 or 4. This dude literally, like, just forget everything you guys know about modern filmmaking. Just listen to this story for a minute. So the dude is standing up there. Mifune's going down there to do the crawl. This dude has a wire in one hand, a wire in another hand, a wire through his teeth, and a wire through his foot, through his big toes. And that's how he lowers them down there to Mifune.
Wow.
Because he couldn't see Mifune's run, in terms of the crawl on the way out, he went down there through the dry runs. Obviously, in every scene, they usually do like, hey, how are we going to do this? And they kind of like talk it out, walk it out. And they like, I'm going to be here, figure out the actor's movement, figure out the camera, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. So he went down there and watched the path Mifune took, memorized it, and then went back up holding the cables and lowered them in terms of what he remembered Mifune doing in the dry run. Like, you wouldn't see this happen nowadays. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's more cell phones and drones and little remote control things you could do nowadays. So, but I just was like blown away by that, guys. And then I forget what they call those dudes that like do that kind of cabling. But it's in the mini doc. You guys can check it out. And that dude was like, Yeah, that was the only compliment Kurosawa ever gave me. Was he was like, "Hey man, nice job, that was amazing." But then they went around and said that like Kurosawa said that guy was the best guy at that in Japan. So he obviously gave him like higher kudos. But you could just see, just again, it's just a little escape scene out of the house, as Gaz was saying. And then in terms of production, just absolutely another insane story. You know what I mean? So I was just like, there's just a lot. You have Yojimbo the film, which is epic and awesome and influential, as Gaz and I said. But then you have the story of the filmmaking, which is a story in itself. You know what I mean? Just all these crazy little adjustments.
Every detail as well. It's period accurate with the costumes, but everything from the footwear, the kimonos, the way the whole hoistering the weapons, the way the blades are drawn as well. Every little aspect.
Absolutely.
The town. Everything, even as you were saying about the weather, when Sanjiro's, when we first see him in the film, and you've got kind of like the stormy kind of clouds in the sky, and he throws something up in the air. It's almost as if it's like kind of a metaphor. Storms are going to approach something.
Yeah, foreshadowing.
So yeah.
The battle. So as Gaz said about the town, it cost 30 million yen to build the town. Detail down to like the paintings and the little pictographs that were on the doors and the window, like all of that is period specific. The dude who built that for Kurosawa, I'm not even sure what I'd have to go look up what you call that, because I assume it's a bit higher than a prop master, because you're literally like building the set. Set design, I imagine, is what they call it nowadays. Yeah. I'm not sure what it was referred to back then. That dude was like a meticulous stickler, and that is why most of the shots are kind of ticked upwards at that upward angle when people are talking, because that guy who created the town for Kurosawa, he wanted the roofs. He made those period accurate specific roofs, as Gaz said. He wanted the ceilings and roofs in every shot. And they said that like that guy was so like driven that point so hard to Kurosawa that Kurosawa, like at every end of scene, was like, "Hey, did we get his roofs? He wants me to get his roofs." Like, so even Kurosawa, he's the director. He can do whatever he wants, but he respects the set builder so much that he's making sure he gets every detail from the set builder in every shot. Like you could just see the respect among the crew was like almost like nothing else I've ever heard of. You know what I mean? Because Kurosawa was so, "Hey, did I get what that guy wants? Never mind, I'm the director and I can do whatever I want." You probably have a lot less of that in modern day Hollywood, because oh, the set builder wants his roof in the shot. Well, I'm the director. No,
Yeah.
61 on a Japanese production. So that was absolutely epic. I think that was most of it, but just like, it really sticks out to you. And I think 90% of the film is shot in that town. So it brings you back to like the one location thing, a la Rashomon, a la Reservoir Dogs, which is cool. I can get back to the plot here, Gaz. Give me 1 second. I can't breathe.
It's all right, man. There's another shout out to everybody. Thanks for coming through. It's greatly appreciated. And hope you're doing good.
Upon learning Ganji has been captured by Usitora, he returns to town in a final confrontation with Usitora, Unosuke, and their gang. Sanjuro dispatches them. He spares a terrified young man, the son of the elderly couple from the opening of the film, and sends him back to his parents. He punks that guy, Gaz. We could go into that dialogue a bit. As Sanjuro surveys the damage, a now insane Tazamon comes out of his home in a samurai outfit and stabs Tukumon to death. A little bit of a foreshadowing, a little bit of a twist there, guys. Sanjuro frees Gonji, proclaims that the town will be quiet from then on, and then departs. We'll break that down a little bit for you guys. The terrified guy who came out.
That was the scene I was referring to. Mommy.
Yelling, mommy.
And Sanjiro's response.
He's like, guys that yell for their mommies. He's like, I have no place being like a samurai. He's like, what the hell? He just like slaps his sword away or something. He tells him to get out of here. Like he just punks him,
That was it was so
really
random.
Is a dark comedy
as well. Yeah.
Like for such a violent like movie and concept, like the way Kurosawa writes the dialogue with his co-writer is just like, it really is absolutely hilarious. So they have it as one-person army action, period drama, samurai action, drama, and thriller. But like, I think the way it's described in the booklet is like a dark comedy. And that's like what I think is like the grindhouse element, because you have the serious samurai concept, the gang warfare, the feudal period drama. But then like you have like dialogue that just doesn't match any of that, because the way he writes it, he takes it every scene so non-seriously. Like you got a drunken Ronin who just like he even doesn't even seem like he's really taking things seriously. Like he knows he can beat them in the combat exchanges, but other than that, he's just screwing with everybody. Like freaking a genius film. And then, like the way it ends, that's what I was talking to Gaz about. Like he just goes back to Gonji and he's like, yeah, I guess you guys like won't have any problems anymore. You know, there's like all these dead bodies around for the fighting and people that are dead. And then Sanjuro is just like, yeah, man, I think you guys will be fine. I'm good. And then he just walks off into the sunset. It's a bit like that Rambo ending of him walking down the road. I think that maybe Rambo took a strike out of that. But yeah, Sanjuro just walks off into the wilderness, guys, at the end. There's no big celebration. It's not like Star Wars A New Hope. There's no ceremony. He just kills everybody, tells them they're good, and then bounces. It's like the most abrupt ending.
Yeah, and the build up probably lasts longer than the fight as well. You've got this very kind of spaghetti western kind of standoff in the town. Sanjuro at one end, the last gang standing, no pun intended there. You've got that face off. The combat scene is literally seconds. There's even funny dialogue with the guy who's always using the 6-shooter. That was quite funny. Funny as well.
I forgot to mention that. So as Gaz said, Sanjuro. So we're gonna break this one down because I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but I'll take a guess. I'll see if like you interpret it the same way I interpret it. Sanjuro mortally wounds him. He's like, I feel naked without my pistol. He's like, can you return it to me, Sanjuro? So Sanjuro like picks it up and gives it back to him. He's like, I used up all my shots, right? So Sanjuro picks it up and gives it back to him. Oh yeah. I want to break down some background of that too. That's a crazy part. So we'll do this and then we'll do that, Pixie. I'll keep on clicking everybody's comment. I'm not even trying to. PXF, the #1 show on YouTube. So he's like, can you give me the pistol? And like Sanjuro doesn't really like respond. He gets it. He gives it to him. And then the dude like smiles like, oh, I outsmarted Sanjuro. And then he tries to aim it at him, but then he like bleeds out and dies. So I don't know why he would
still comes back with another line though afterwards that he's going to wait for him at the gates of hell after that.
Oh yeah, that is sick. Yeah, that is sick. Yeah. So that's a sick line. So like Sanjuro doesn't check the chamber. That's what I'm thinking. Like
he didn't.
He's a samurai, so he doesn't know how to like inspect the revolver. Like there could be multiple interpretations of that. Also, the fact that this is how I interpret it. Sanjuro knew that he mortally wounded him, so he knew, like I guess wherever his sword strike touched. So he knows that even if he gives it to him, he's not going to have time to aim it directly at him and pull. So he bleeds out. But
that's how I interpret it because this was kind of like the last days of the samurai. So if it was earlier, I would have said, yeah, the samurai may have not have known quite been so familiar with weapons. Now some were already using them for centuries, which yes, there were.
Yeah, that
because this was very late period. I mean, it's 19th century. I'd take a guess that probably would have been familiar with it. Could have come across other bandits, whatever, armed with weapons. So I took it as what you were saying as this guy's done. Yeah, this guy's done. He's going to be no threat. If he even tries one quick flash, that's it. The guy's gone. He stays around long enough to deliver another hilarious line, though, that he will wait for Sanjuro at the gates of hell, which. which was awesome. But that scene, as Pixie said, where he was thrown, I think, like a Kamai dagger, landed kind of around here on his wrist to stop him from using. That was awesome because that set up that whole scene where then he just took out the gang. And it literally is blink and you'll miss it, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, an amazing scene. Because what I expected was Sanjuro to like take it, pop the chamber over, dump the rounds, and then give it to him. Like, okay, you want a pistol, but you're not going to take you're going to trust a guy. I used up all my shots. Like, dude, I've pretty much been fighting this clan the whole movie. What am I to take your word for it in the final scene? Obviously not. So the blade he gets, the small blade, as you guys were both referring to, he gets that. And then I forget who helped him at the temple. If that was Gonji or that was another. It was like, I think it was like the casket dude, right? Yeah, it was the casket dude. Because he said, I got this off a dead samurai. I know you're not supposed to like take a dead man's sword, is what he said to Sanjuro. Sanjuro is obviously like the most like I don't care character ever in history. So, but when he gave him the knife, do you remember that line, guys? He's like, what are you gonna do? He's like, dude, you're gonna fight all those guys with that knife, and he goes, yeah, I'll make sashimi out of them, which is what do you call that? A sushi. It's like a sushi roll. I thought that was awesome. He just has like a small blade, and he's gonna go fight two clans of guys. Like he just didn't care. He was just gonna use whatever. But then that dude did end up giving him a katana, so he got both, which was sick.
Yeah, absolutely incredible film. Very entertaining. The dialogue's absolutely hilarious. I think we can wind up and get to our ratings if you guys want to. If you guys want to drop your ratings in the chat. Let me just check my production notes one more time. I didn't really get to read too much of the Wikipedia production, guys. I'll probably read it after this, and then I'll go finish the short film. I usually try to give you guys as much as I can. Kurosawa, I'll do a little bit of it before we do our ratings because we still got like 5 minutes. Kurosawa stated that a major source for the plot was 1942 film noir classic The Glass Key. I think this was in something that you and I read, Gaz. I didn't know anything about that. An adaptation of Dan Hammett 1931 novel of the same name. Has been noted that the overall plot of Yojimbo is closer to that of another Hammett novel, Red Harvest, 1929. Kurosawa scholar David Desser, a film critic Manny Farber, claimed that Red Harvest was the inspiration for the film. However, Donald Ritchie and other scholars believe the similarities are coincidental. I mean, that happens. We've talked about, similar type films that seem similar but actually aren't influenced from one another. The mulberry field by the town, thus the character could be viewed as an early example of the man with no name. Other examples of which appear in several earlier novels, such as Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest, and that obviously goes into Eastwood's trilogy. Many of the actors in Yojimbo worked with Kurosawa before, and especially Toshiro Mifune, Takashi Shimura, and Tatsuya Nakadai. After Kurosawa scolded Mifune for arriving late to the set one morning, Mifune made it a point to be ready on set at 6 a.m. every day in full makeup and costume for the rest of the film's shooting schedule. Little disagreement there. It happens on set. This was the second film where Akira Kurosawa worked with cinematographer Kazuo Miyagawa, the first being Rashomon in 50. The sword instructor and choreography of the film were done by Yoshiro Sugino of the Tenshin Shoden Katori Shinto Ryu and Ryokuzi. I guess that must be the dojos or their faction. Music has positive reviews. Michael Wood, writing respectively for the London Review, founded the film's soundtrack by Masaru Sato as effective in its jaunty and jangling approach to stating, there was quite a few points where it's kind of that campy, almost comedic music that really doesn't match what's going on in the scene at all, and that kind of plays to the dark comedy. It's like the music and the dialogue are a totally different mood and tone than the actual film itself.
Yeah, it's got that Japanese kind of opera theater element, which is I've lost the ability of language. Prevalent. Can't even say it now. Prevalent. If anybody has seen those, so it had that feel to it for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, okay. I'll just kind of go into my rating. I don't want to bore you guys too much. Yeah. It's definitely funny. Pretty fast paced for the most part. I mean, the movie is pretty long, guys. I think was an hour 50, guys.
Oh, just one moment. Oh man, I'm going to try and behave, or this is just going to spiral into a roast of the Crow again.
What a masterpiece!
Absolute pain in the truest sense. Just the Crow, complete. But anyway, I'll get back on topic.
You can check out our review of that anytime. If you want a really funny laugh, just go check out our review of the trailer when I had to take a shot every time something dumb happened. You can see how that You can see how that turned out for me. It's got an 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. I don't know. I mean, you guys know I'm a Kurosawa fanboy, so this isn't really anything new. But I mean, another amazing, collaboration between Mifune and Kurosawa. Yeah. Everybody that worked on set, the score guy shined. Like I said, the use of the elements, very Western influenced. And yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff. I mean, you hear quite a bit of cool behind the scenes set stories. I read a couple of those for you guys. But let's see. Yeah, that's everything from my notes. Definitely check it out. No, Rick, that's your favorite movie, bud. Don't ever put the Crow remake on us.
Yeah, man. I'd rate this. I'm anywhere between a 9 or 9.5. I rate it very highly. Filmmaking, character story. this is why I really enjoyed American Primeval, which we may cover, because it just has a nice, simple story, good characters, good acting. It's balanced, it's fast-paced, the action is really good, really ahead of its time as well. Really is. It's not kind of like those really kind of old school swashbuckling pirate gentleman kind of sword fighting movies. I think Errol Flynn, Robin Hood, all of those kind of things. This is very ahead of its time in that sense with the combat. The acting is really good. The score's good. The way they use the camera work, the props, everything Ross has touched on, far ahead of its time. Influenced so many preceding movies and subgenres. Even there's a game, oh man, I didn't do too well. It's called Trek to Yomi, which is entirely in black and white, which is a nod to all these old school samurai movies. The game is difficult as well. It's realistic in the sense you miss your parry, that's it, you're done. Yeah. So it's not an easy playthrough. So the legacy of this film, carrying it forward, has Zaitoshi feels as well. And I believe there is a movie where Sanjiro meets Zaitoshi. I think that's a few years possibly after this one. Cool. So yeah, definitely, man. 9 or 9.5 easy.
Yeah, American Primeval is sick. So if you want us to cover this, Pixie, we can go ahead and bounce. What did we have? Death Rides a Horse and Red Sun. We can bounce those and do American Primeval, and then we'll push those ones back. So just weigh in on the comments, guys. The best way to do it, guys, if you could leave your recos in the comments, and if we either if there's something that you want us to cover, you can either like something someone already named, or the more like repeats we see, it tells us like what you guys want us to review. And obviously we'll be doing Kurosawa and the Westerns regardless. I can't name everybody in the cast and the crew, guys. There's like over 20 actors, and it's just a massive crew. As you can imagine, with a project of this undertaking. Some production stills. There's Sanjuro up on the tower, as Gaz was saying. There's some cool stuff in this little booklet, and like I said, this is a 2-pack. So could you show us
the discs as well, Ross, please? Just for people, so we can
sure. I'll show you the. Actually, I think it's in my player, but I can pop it for you if you want.
Oh no, all right.
So here's the. I think it's similar to the to this logo with the title. I think that's pretty much what's on the disc, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so we're definitely gonna do. Hell yeah, bro. I mean, this is pretty highly up me and Gaz's angle. I just want to say before we get out of here on Kurosawa that my understanding of Kurosawa and Japanese samurai film totally changed my opinion on the Western genre. When I was younger, I used to really not like Westerns. I thought that they were too slow burn, too much of a build-up. Till I got older and I actually started watching them, and I found out that most of them are complete massacres and full of shootouts and action-packed sequences, which is just not my understanding as a younger person. But once I understood that the modern American gunslinger, gunfighter, cowboy was archetype of the Japanese samurai, that totally changed my understanding. Now I'm obsessed with both genres.
That's why I like Primeval. I must admit, some Westerns still are a little too slow for me, but this is why I rate American Primeval highly. I mean, Ross suffered a lot of my hyper messages about this, like, man, you've got to watch it, because it is quite fast-paced and it's balanced. The action is very brutal. Good story as well, good characters. If nobody's caught it yet, I do highly recommend it. It's a really good series. And you could even argue, I mean, we know the influence on Star Wars as well, but on Han Solo as well. Even when Han Solo first meets Luke, he's kind of, if you like, caught between, I'm not saying that the Rebel Alliance were evil, but thinking like, maybe, well, what can I get out of this for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we'll be doing Hidden Fortress versus A New Hope retrospective down the line. I don't think we've quite scheduled that one, but we pretty much do have the schedule up to that. I mean, dude, this movie was like, they made a big deal about this because of the Stephen King books, and I watched the movie and I didn't think it was very good back when I watched it. I know it took I know like the comics and the books are a big deal. It was PG-13, right? And Idris Elba is an excellent actor, but The Dark Tower just wasn't really up my. We're probably going to stick to some traditional Westerns, Rick, and we'll do like some of the Eastwood stuff, some of the spaghetti Westerns, Sergio Leone, and then we'll do other things. I mean, like Gaz was saying, like Hostels, for example, right? Like very slow burn, but like the ending was so insane that it really impressed me. So I'm willing to sit through a 2-hour Western if the ending has that payoff.
Well, what was that? What was that one on Netflix? I think we did cover it a few years ago, where they had to defend the town from. Do you remember, from that gang of outlaws? And it was mainly women and about 1 or 2 dudes, and they had limited ammunition, limited rifles. It wasn't hostiles, but it was round about some of that time. I'm sure we covered it. I don't think we covered it on YouTube though.
I have no idea what you're talking about because
it is on Netflix. I'll have to go and look that up.
I'm trying to think of a Western I watched on Netflix. I can't even think of one.
I'll see if I can find it. Mad
Probably
quick
just
now.
spaced out on it. No offense to me. I mean, me and Gaz covered so many.
Godless. That was it.
What was it?
Godless.
I don't think I saw that, bro.
Sure it did. Oh well, just ignore me. I'm just randomly thinking of.
No, I'm gonna add it to my list because it sounds decent.
Hey, Mr. Beckham, welcome, man. What was can someone is it Jonah Hex who's the DC Western character?
Yeah.
I've always thought he's been kind of
that's Brolin, right?
Yeah, he's never been done too good either, and that's
what up, Mr. Beckman? So we got some stuff that we got coming up. If you like the Kurosawa and the Westerns, just let us know. If you have other things completely outside of that, let us know. I don't know. We're probably just going to be doing PXF classics in the backlog, guys, because there's really not much coming out on the mainstream. So like we said, Fistful of Dollars coming up. Then we were thinking either Sanjuro or Ran. Might just do Sanjuro and bump Ran down the line. But we're locked in all the way to the end of March. So once we absolutely lock that down, I'll post it under the community tab. I do have a couple more Most Dangerous Game reviews to do on Patreon. When I do the 10th Victim, you can go subscribe to the Patreon free on with your Gmail. But when I do the 10th Victim, because it relates to Zodiac, it's probably going to be members only, guys. So you won't be able to see that post with a free account. But I will do other stuff. I think Gaz might collab with me on the Dude Cough one. I forgot what that was called, Gaz.
Man, yeah, it's with him with Steve Avenging Force with Steve James.
So that will come up. And then when I do Deadliest Prey, I might make that free so everyone can read it because, you guys saw how Deadly Prey 1 was an insane mess. So that's pretty much where we're at. Behind the scenes, guys, I'm super busy. So there might not be some Zodiac stuff for a bit. I'll book a few Zodiac guests when I get around to it. But Beeson said he was down to do a Yuba County 5 with me. That might be a one-off, but that's coming up like in a week in February. So might get that going. I'll just announce it now. So I'd like everybody to go check out the John Philbin interview. Give it a like, give it a share. That was a big interview for us on this channel because we're Point Break fanatics here. Nice, dude. That's cool. Good luck with that show, Rick. Let me know if you need anything from me. Shout out to Prof. Horn. He's got a cool channel, too. He does a lot of cool true crime cases. What was I just talking about before that, guys?
You were mentioning possibly, was it the 10th Victim?
No, I was mentioning the guests. So everybody go check out the John Philbin interview.
John Philbin, Point Break, yes.
Obviously, we're talking Westerns. He's in Tombstone. So if you want me and Gaz and maybe Lauren could join us for Tombstone. I know he likes Tombstone. Likes Tombstone. But Philbin is obviously in North Shore, Point Break, Tombstone, Children of the Corn, Return of the Living Dead. Super chill, dude. Shout out to him for that interview. That was epic. Kind of our first time having a known actor, if you will. So shout out to Drew Beeson. He connected me with another known actor. Lou Temple is going to be making his debut on the channel. We're targeting not next weekend, but the weekend after. So me and Gaz will be doing a Fistful of Dollars on the 1st. And then I think Lou is going to join me that next weekend. So when I have a confirmation for him, I'll post the pre-link. You've seen Lou Temple in The Walking Dead. You've seen him in Devil's Rejects, Rob Zombie's Halloween, Rob Zombie's 31. He's done a voice work for a bunch of video games. I think we both played, Gaz, the Mafia series. I don't know if you played those back in the day. I think he even did a voice in is it Killzone? So this guy is everywhere, guys. Like he's done extensive voice. He's just a great Texas actor. That he's in Westerns as well. A lot of horror movies, a lot of Westerns, a lot of action games. So that's going to be huge. The PXF film series volume 3 interview with Lou Temple, and we'll kind of see where the actor interviews go from there. It's going to be kind of tough because I already have Lauren Lepre, John Philbin, and Lou Temple, so I don't know if I'll be able to outdo those three, but I'll keep it rolling.
Well, like working on stuff. Like I said earlier, folks, there is so much going on behind the scenes. People may have looked over at the PXM channel and think, right, well, nothing's being posted on there in a while. Myself and Ross have been working on many things behind the scenes. As I say, you've obviously got the true crime stuff with Ross. Then we've got all the martial arts kind of action movies we're looking at. As I said, there's something we are thinking of possibly doing connected to American Ninja. There's a Cryptids, alternative history, other cases. There's so much. Lauren wants to do a podcast with us as well. Details of that when and where soon. So there is always something that we're looking at, and that we can only do so much. So we do appreciate your patience and understanding and support.
Yeah, and as Gaz said, it's the first show's back. Obviously we had a little break because there's really nothing going on in the year. So kind of reorganizing, rebooking things behind the scenes. Gaz is helping with that. Stay locked over at his side for Ma Shinobi and the Ninja Samurai martial arts content. And then over here, we do vigilante revenge, action, crime, horror, sci-fi. So we'll be doubling down on that. So just give me a little time. I'll get Patreon upgraded, updated, and like we said, we'll basically post the full schedule once we lock it in. But we at least have the next few shows ready to go. So pop over to Crip Rick, give him a subscribe over there. I've been on there a couple times. Definitely have more true crime stuff. The true crime is just stuff. It's tough, guys. I don't like, talking about missing people and dead teenagers 24/7. It's not as fun as you guys probably think it is. So that's why I up with, samurai film, combat film, and whatever else we're watching. Vigilante revenge stuff here. The movies are a little bit more lighthearted conversation to have, which is nice. So, stay locked in, like, sub, share. You can click the join button for a membership. Head over to Patreon and join free there with your Gmail. Please leave your recommendations either in the live chat or in the comments when the video posts, because we definitely want to do get stuff that you guys are interested in as well. So maybe we'll get American Primeval in the mix, which was pretty sick. That was a good reco from Gaz, and we'll just keep doing what we've been doing, which is PFX classics out of our top 10, top 20 lists, our personal lists, and we try to hit the films on the anniversaries. So that's why we'll be doing Boondock Saints. Actually, Crip Rick is going to join us for Boondock Saints.
Nice.
And that will be right before St. Paddy's Day, which is the 17th. We'll do it on the 15th. So lock that in on your cow. So go give him a sub. That's everything for Yojimbo. Akira Kurosawa. Like we said, we'll definitely be doing Sanjuro. We'll definitely be doing Hidden Fortress down the line. Probably Sword of Doom, which is not a Kurosawa, but it's another samurai film. I have a hard copy of Ran, which I've never watched, so we'll get that in the mix too. So definitely heavy Kurosawa this year, heavy West, especially in this as we come into the spring and the summer. We'll be trying to do as many of those Westerns. I know you were asking about Josie Wales Pixie. So we're trying to do High Plains Drifter and, a bunch of those Eastwoods. So thanks for the promo, Pixie. Appreciate you all. And yes, I do want to fight because you were late. So, but I'm going to get my katana blade out of the closet.
Well, I'm going to give us some homework, man. Pixie, you've got to prep up. You've got to prep up for Invasion USA when we come to that.
Oh, yeah, Norris, baby.
I want your full force arms when we cover that. That is such a legendary movie.
Yeah, no, and we'll see how that goes because if we bring in some people, we'll try to do more Norris. Obviously, he has a massive resume, and then also for the Thing fans, they kind of supported the Thing review, which was cool. I definitely want to do some more for you guys, so we'll do like Horror Express, which is like an early kind of semi version amalgamation of the Thing, and then the Thing prequel that Gaz mentioned. So we're gonna keep the pedal to the gas, guys, and keep it popping. But PXF, Ma Shinobi, Ross Mafuni, we're out. And like I said, like, sub, share, click join for membership. And, of course, we're going to get Chuck in the mix because when Chuck Norris goes in water, he doesn't get wet. Water gets Chuck Norris.
Exactly.
And jump on the Patreon for free with your Gmail. Gaz, do you have any other shout-outs or plugs?
No, just again want to shout out everybody for coming through. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for supporting both channels. Everything that myself and Ross do. it's humbling, and we love chatting with you all and giggling with you as well. Have a great weekend. Have a good one, and we shall see you next time. Peace out for now.
Shout out to Lauren Lepre. John Philbin did come back on his channel, Average Superstar TV. Go subscribe to that. An amazing interview with Philbin. I think they recorded it right after I did mine. Lauren and I have a major announcement, which will be coming after next week, first week of February. Him and I just have a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on. And like I said, in terms of the filmmaking, guys, the Skate to Hell trailer is out. Go check that out. You're going to see a familiar PXF face in that movie when it drops. Desert Fiends, which I crowdfunded. That's a sick trailer. That's actually dropping in April. They have the Desert Fiends 2 crowdfunding campaign going on now. And then Lauren and I have our announcement in a couple of weeks, and I'll be putting up, go check out Dark Military Rogue on Average Superstar TV. And you'll be hearing more about the Dark Military on here at PXF. So, yeah, there's a lot of announcements, guys. It's tough to get them all out in one show. Honestly, we're just going to have to trickle them out in the next few shows as flyers and posters and trailers and stuff drop. So, appreciate you guys. Shout out everyone coming through. Like I said, leave your recommendations here in the live chat or in the description below. We're out. PXF Paradigm Review Show. Yojimbo, 1961. Akira Kurosawa, Toshiro Mifune. Like, sub, share. Click the join for a membership and head over to the Patreon. Respect. See you next week for A Fistful of Dollars. Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone.
Peace out.